Today on Gettin Higgy with it. Hey, my nitroglycerin's coming along nicely. Nobody move. I'm Emily Duhigg and we're reviewing Compounded. Do you think chemistry is lame and super hard? Fear not. Compounded is a good-looking, well-rounded, clever game based on chemistry, but when it comes right down to it, you can ignore the elements' scientific names and simply refer to them by their pretty colors. Personally, I think it's more fun to use the names because it makes me feel like I actually remembered something from my high school chemistry class. Each player, or scientist, is given a workbench complete with supplies and test tubes to keep track of their experiments. Cards with chemical compounds are laid out in the center of the table. This is called the research field. The score track is a board of the periodic table of elements and keeps track of each scientist's atomic points. The player who goes first is known as the lead scientist and is given the wooden lab key. This person is determined by who has the rarest elements on their workbench at the start of the game. The only time the lead scientist can change throughout the game is if another scientist scores a compound card with the key symbol. The game is composed of experiments which consist of 4 phases. They are discovery, study, research, and lab. In the discovery phase, players blindly draw elements from a bag. They are hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, calcium, and sulfur, and are valued lowest to highest in that order. These can be kept or traded with other scientists and then placed on their workbench. In the study phase, players take turns claiming compounds in the research field they want to experiment with. Next, in the research phase, elements are placed on the compound cards you've claimed. The goal is to complete compounds with your elements from your workbench. In the lab phase, completed compounds are scored. Scoring compounds increases your atomic points, adds a level to one of your test tubes on your workbench, and may even give you a lab tool to enhance your gameplay. After scoring compounds, those cards are removed from the research field and new cards take their place. Occasionally, a lab fire will break out while replacing the cards. This can either damage, destroy, or not affect the elements you've placed. It depends on the number of flame icons on the individual compound cards and the tools in your lab. Damaged cards stay, but if a compound is destroyed, it is removed from the field and a new compound takes its place. At this point, phase 1 starts over again with the lead scientist and a new experiment. Experiments continue until a player either reaches 50 or more atomic points or a scientist fills 3 of their 4 test tubes on their workbench. Once this happens, one more set of phases is played and everyone's workbench is scored. If ever the research field cannot be filled with compound cards before someone reaches 50 atomic points, or they filled 3 of their 4 test tubes, the gameplay stops and there is not a final set of phases before scoring. In either case, the player with the most atomic points wins. Now, what do we like about this game? For a game based on chemistry, it's surprisingly entertaining. The game components are clever by using the periodic table of elements as a score track, test tubes on the workbench to fill as the game progresses, and various lab equipment pieces such as a Bunsen burner that can start a fire, and goggles to protect you from that fire. Plus, the various colored element pieces look like shiny, colorful rock candy. But don't eat them, kids. They don't taste as good. The Kickstarter stretch goals included in the final version also give this game more depth with the lab partner gameplay option and a high quality with the larger folding score track and wooden game pieces, making Compounded a nice addition to any game library. Now, what don't we like about this game? There are just a couple of things we'd change slightly if we could. First, the role of lead scientist can allow one player to be a little overpowering. The compound cards that change the lead scientist to another player actually never came up during our first playthrough, so the same person had the advantage of getting first claim to compounds the entire game. Also, the text on the workbenches is kind of hard to read. Other than that, this is a first-rate game and almost as fun as Mr. Stern's chemistry class. Yes, kids, high school chemistry can be fun. On our board flip meter, getting through the game setup and instructions takes a little more time than normal, but it's well worth it. Once the workbenches and research field are set, the gameplay is pretty logical. Finally, we like Compounded so much, we're ranking it all the way up to the number 2 spot. As usual, like, subscribe, favorite, the whole shebang. Thanks for watching, I'm Emily Duhigg, and until next time, get higgy with Compounded. Did I mess it up again?
Well, you say experiments.
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 Not
just do one.
Experiments.
You say experiments.
Experiments.
Experiments. Oh my god. Can we say it anymore?
Experiments.
Asparagus.
Which I did buy at the store.
The game is composed of 4 asparaguses. Asparagus.
Scene 5.
Asparagus.
What's your head, Adam?
Scene 5, take 3.